finding your purpose of life is the only purpose of life. Afterward, life is an enjoyable journey. Others may see a problem, but you're enjoying the process. The earlier you find it, the better it is for you. Imagine you find your passion at the age of 73. It's good to do a lot of self-analysis on your deathbed. The earlier, the better.
This is episode number 88 of The Inspiring Talk with Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Welcome guys to The Inspiring Talk. My name is Bijay Gautam. I'm host for this show. Each week I interview today's most successful and inspiring personalities to help you realize your inner potential. I'm excited for this episode on wisdom from Chanakya. Chanakya was an ancient Indian teacher, economist, and royal advisor. He was called Kingmaker, as he advised and helped Chandragupta Maurya build one of the largest empires. Chanakya's books, Arthasasthra and Chanakya Neeti, probably have all the answers to world's problems, from how to run a kingdom to how to run a life. And those insights are equally relevant even in today's world. Now, on this episode, I have someone who has mastered the concepts and wisdom shared by Chanakya and has helped popularize those insights. Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai has authored 15 books based on Chanakya's teaching, including the bestseller Corporate Chanakya. Dr. Pillai is Deputy Director of Masters in Leadership Science at the University of Mumbai. He is a well-known speaker, management consultant, and corporate coach. This man has got tons and tons of insights on life and facing any problem that you might come across in your life. On this episode, we discuss Anvikshiki, the science of thinking, designing life and habits the Chanakya way, finding the mentor, and a lot more. Trust me, the ancient wisdom shared on this episode will blow your mind. Without further ado, let me welcome Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Welcome back inside this episode, guys. It's an honor and privilege to have here with me Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Dr. Radhakrishnan, thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor to be on this particular show, especially you're such an inspiring personality for me, Bijay. You've got so many followers, and when I actually got connected to you, I felt it's a privilege to be on your show. Thank you so much for including me.
That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. So I'd like to jump straight into the conversation because you have done so much of research and study, and you have went on into the depth of the insights of this man, Chanakya. And I'm sure people who are listening to this podcast, they know who Chanakya is, and they might have heard of this name, right? So, a lot of them might have even heard about some of the sutras and stuff, which we'll get into. So let's begin by saying Chanakya was called a kingmaker, right?
Yeah.
So let's begin by talking who was Chanakya and why he was called a kingmaker.
Absolutely. In fact, I always start most of my lectures by introduction of Chanakya. So a quick introduction, he is a historical figure who lived in the 4th century BC, roughly 2,400 years ago. So he is somebody who is very, very near to our particular generation. So you may worry that 2,400 is near, of course, because if you look at Indian history, it spans over thousands of years. So we have reference that he lived in flesh and blood in India. He was part of the Magad kingdom, and he lived in Patliputra, which is modern-day Patna. He's known to have gone to Takshashila, studied in the university, became a professor of political science, and he came back to Patna. And what he realized in Patna, there was a major problem that it was lacking good governance. The king at that particular time was called Dhananand. He was from the Nanda dynasty, and unfortunately, in spite of advising him on how to be a good king, because he was a political advisor, he was a professor or a teacher of political science, Dhananand did not listen to him, and the people were suffering. So he decided to dethrone him. And that's when he created one of his students. His name is Chandragupta Maurya. and made him the king and dethroned Dhananand. That's why he's known as a kingmaker. Remember, Chanakya did not have his own army and he was not a king, but he was more powerful than the king. And he could actually bring
Hmm.
back a lot of, bring together many armies together. So, why is he called a kingmaker? Because he was not aspiring to be a leader. In fact, he's a leadership guru. So, kingmaker is bigger than the king. And if I were to use Hindi, ऐसा कहते हैं कि राजा से भी बड़ा राजगुरु होता है. So, in fact, it is not the king who is important. It is the strategist, the person who guides the king, who makes the king, who is more important. So, for us, he is a leadership guru and much bigger than the leader itself.
So he was the mastermind and the man who had a lot of wisdom and insights, that he shared with the king and the all the people, and he helped a lot of kingdom to conquer and later on in his life, right? So and then he put together something called a Chanakya Neeti,
Yes.
right? And so what does that mean? So I would like to go in depth of the Chanakya Neeti and some of the principles of the life. And when I was going through that, and thanks to you for introducing the Chanakya principles and the Nitis, and when I started going, reading about it and started finding a lot about it, and I'm like, I mean, is there anything that Chanakya did not talk about of living life, whether that's about the business, whether that's about the leadership, whether that's about the politics, that's about the economics, right? So there is a lot of wisdom out there. So what is Chanakya Niti, and what does that word Chanakya and Niti particularly means?
So actually, if you look at the word niti in Sanskrit, it's got various meanings. Niti means strategy, niti means policies, niti also means plan. So if you look at Chanakya Niti, it is the policies, strategies, principles, and the aspect of planning that Chanakya taught. So definitely he wrote a book called as Chanakya Niti. It's got formulas or generally called as sutras of how to live life. Now, Chanakya Niti, when we say that, okay, what is your policy or what's your strategy of running a kingdom? So usually Chanakya is known for two books that he wrote. One is Kautilya's Arthasasthra and Chanakya Niti. It is said that Kautilya Arthashastra is a huge book with more than 6,000 formulas or sutras, while Chanakya Niti has got 350 odd sutras. So what is the difference? The Arthashastra is having nitis, of course, but meant for leaders. So it is actually like a constitution. It tells the leaders how to rule a kingdom, how to have foreign policies, how to create economics and the model of wealth creation, how to appoint ministers, how to actually, make sure that the crime in the society is low. So all these are for the leaders. But he also realized that I may teach the leaders, but I also need to teach the masses. A good teacher will be
Mm,
teaching the masses and the classes. Now, coming back to Chanakya Niti, it is for the masses. It's a common man like you and me. So let me just go into the details of the book called Chanakya Niti. It talks about principles, policies, and strategies, how to succeed in life, irrespective of whether you're a leader or no. So Chanakya Niti is definitely for the leaders also, but even if you're not a leader, many people say, I'm not a political aspirant, I don't want to be a leader, I'm happy with me, myself, and my family. So Chanakya actually has got some formulas how to succeed in life also, and at every stage and every different responsibility that you go in life through. So let me give you a couple of examples. So let's say, parenting. Now that's something which probably a lot of people go through. And India, we have a very, very strong family culture. So he says,
true.
how do you become a good parent? So here is a Chanakya Niti, and they're very small formulas. It's like E is equal to MC square. E is equal to MC square looks like a small formula, but it's got the depth of the whole lifelong research of Einstein. So in the same way, every formula or Chanakya Niti that Chanakya talks about is actually very deep. So let me give an example of parenting. Chanakya says, till 5 years, love your children. Next 10 years, discipline them. And afterwards, consider them your friends. Over. Now, let me explain it. So, when a child is born, then you'll be surprised. It's a very innocent child. And, even if you want to, it doesn't have the intellectual, the physical, or the mental ability to understand your sayings. So, you just love them unconditionally. Even if you got the best of the mobile, it just breaks it. You have to accept it, right? So you have to love the child unconditionally, no doubt about it. But what happens after 5 years? You have to start disciplining the child. What do you mean by discipline? You have to show them what is right and wrong. So there is this faculty of a person to discriminate and understand what is good and bad, right and wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done. Unfortunately, we should not only look at children being loved, but they also need to be disciplined. So, what does it mean? It means that you have to teach the child to listen to a very important word called as no. Otherwise, the child can also go into a kind of a state where, especially we find that with single parents or even single children, where they just pamper the child to such an extent that you become a spoiled brat. So the discipline is very important. So 10 years onwards, you just tell them what is right and wrong, guide them with your experience. So first 5 years is love them, then discipline them. And after 15 years, consider them as your friends. Teenagers don't like to be dominated because they say, I'm also grown up. So that's exactly what Chanakya is saying. He actually agrees to teenagers, saying that now you're full-fledged adult. And now, when I say 15 years, it's an average, okay? So you can make it 18 years just for the sake of our generation. Now, I remember my spiritual guru, Swami Chinmayanand, used to say something very nice. The love of a mother and the discipline of a father, both are required for the healthy development of a child. So think about it, that we need to balance love and discipline. And after they're ready, then you should consider them as friends. Now, that doesn't mean that you consider them as equals. They are equals, but the thing is that after a point, they have their own ideas and you can learn from them. What we call in today's generation is reverse mentoring. Maybe, initially when I was small, I remember if any electronic item like a television or something is to come at home, our parents never used to touch it, or rather, never used to allow us to touch it. But today, when an electronic gadget comes in, it is actually the little children who will tell you how to use it. So we tell them, please tell me how to use this mobile or whatever. So consider this, that after 15 years, you almost like are on equal par with each other. Yet teenagers or even a grown-up child or a man also requires guidance. So the parenting role after love and discipline becomes more about guidance, and we are actually equal players. So look at this one example of parenting, how deep it is. It's one sutra among 350 odd sutras. I'll give you one more example. Who is a lucky person?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so who is a lucky
Mm.
person? So it's a very interesting word, and saying that I think everybody's lucky. He says that if somebody is educated, he's got a good family, he's got enough wealth, knowledge, and respect, he's a very lucky person. So it's a rare category to have all these combinations, right? So he is educated, he's got a happy family, he's got his parents, he's got wealth, money, respect, honor. And you say, okay, is such people actually possible? And let me tell you, Vijay, I've been fortunate to be in that category. You'd be
Mm.
surprised that, when I look at all my friends and all, everybody has got some problems. Even I do have, so it's not that everybody is like problem free. Everybody has got some problem or the other. But if you look at these 4, 5 things he talks about, so by the grace of God, I'm highly educated, I'm a doctorate. Okay, so it's a PhD, like highest education that probably you can think about. I'm happily married, I've got 2 wonderful children, my parents are healthy, financially, I'm also very secure. So if you look at it on a world traveled, and can you believe I'm also respected? So then I go back and say, okay, that means I'm a lucky guy. But the following statement also says, don't become arrogant. This happens because of teachers, parents, and God's grace. So I can't say, I'm a lucky guy. So I have to learn that even after being successful or be lucky, you need to be humble. So that's another Chanakya strategy, right from how to be a good parent. So what to do after you become successful. So right from start to how to succeed. And believe me, Chanakya is a strategy what to do after success. And now that's amazing, right? So why am I giving
Yeah, I
this
mean,
like
that's really fascinating.
exactly? So Chanakya Neeti encompasses everything that a person can go through. You ask the question and the answer is given by Chanakya. So that's Chanakya Neeti for you.
Super. Yeah, I was kind of fascinated, as I mentioned earlier. Like, is there anything that this man has not talked about that possibly, there is a question or the doubt, as you mentioned, right, that
Yeah,
one might have, and
yeah,
there might not be answer on the Chanakya Niti or the other book that you're mentioning about Arthasasthra, which I believe maybe we'll talk about that in later,
yeah,
but which I believe is more about the wealth and the economy side of things, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So when I was going through your work, I came across this word, beautiful word called Anvikshiki,
Yeah.
right? Which I'm sure not many people listening to this podcast have heard or are aware of. So what is Anvikshiki? I would like to start from that because I think once we start from that, then we can start building upon that, and then maybe we'll talk more about leading the life and finding purpose and so on and so forth. So what is Anvikshiki?
Thank you so much. You actually touched my heart because almost 20 years ago, when I started reading the Arthashastra, to be very frank, I also did not understand even how to even pronounce it or read it properly. So Anvikshiki,
True.
Anvikshiki, I had to just, do a lot of tongue twisting to get it. But after I came to understand the depth of this word, I was so fascinated. In the Kautilya's Arthasasthra, the first chapter, there are 150 chapters, and the first chapter begins by training of a king. So it's like we are putting the child into a school, and remember, this child is not ordinary. The child is going to be a leader. He's going to be a king. So he's going to take care of the whole kingdom. And the first chapter of Arthashastra is called as Anvikshiki Sthapana. So I said, okay, what is
Hmm.
Anvikshiki? So Anvikshiki is a science of how to think. Okay,
Wow.
so I said, okay, what do you mean by thinking? So of course, I went into detail and I found out Anvekshan. So what is the meaning of Anvekshan? It's inquiry, curiosity, ability to understand it logically, so that the child can become a leader. So because leadership is actually about decision making. Anvikshik is also called as philosophy, the right philosophy that is being trained. Now let me tell you, when I started researching, I got various meanings of it. Okay, so why is it called Anvikshiki Sthapana? A leader or any person who want to be successful should have the right way of thinking. Right thinking can make you or break you. Wrong thinking can confuse you. And a leader cannot afford to be confused. He has to look and be trained in right thinking. And what is the meaning of sthapana? Sthapana means establishing. So establishing a person for thinking correctly in his mind, it's like you're stabilizing it. And then I was so fascinated and said, oh my goodness. So, in our education system, in the olden days in India, it was not about RRR, reading, writing, and arithmetic. So, when we say a person has to be literate, so he has to know these basic three things. He has to read, write, and he should know calculations. That's what the model is in today's education. But Chanakya started by saying, teach a child to be a thinker first. I was so fascinated saying that what a man. In fact, somebody said, I was born intelligent and education spoiled me. So the whole idea is that are we feeding this information? Are we actually teaching the children how to think correctly? So the last point which I want to mention about Anvikshiki is that I started seeing a lot of references of Anvikshiki in ancient Indian literature. And there are people who actually were trained in Anvikshiki and they became very successful leaders. And there was a great princess who comes in Mahabharata. Her name is Draupadi. Do you know Krishna addresses her as Draupadi because she's a very intelligent princess trained in Anvikshiki? So in our ancient education system, men, women, everybody were trained in the right strategic thinking. And I was so fascinated that I actually named my daughter as Anvikshiki. So my daughter
Wow.
is actually called as Anvikshiki. Of course, my son is called Arjun, because as I told you, I'm very fortunate. They're fantastic children. They are also intelligent. But the whole idea is that you have hit the nail that can you believe Chanakya's first word, the first subject he's thinking is also not known to us. So I said, let me put upon my life to the promotion of Chanakya's thought and beginning with the word Anvikshiki, the right method of thinking or strategic thinking.
So, you know what fascinates me a lot about this whole time? We just think, right? Who would have thought about there is a science to thinking and,
Yes.
there is the way to think about it, right? So, you are saying that the thinking is an art,
Yes.
right? And I've never heard anyone talk about thinking as an art or science and there is a right way or the wrong way to think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, can we go in more depth about like, hey, how do we then go about thinking, right? What is the right way to think about, or how does that impact on our success or where we will be in next couple of years or maybe in a decade or so?
Absolutely. In fact, if you're not thinking correctly, you will get confused. And congratulations, all people around will be also confused. So think about it. It is not about you. It's about the whole family, your whole company. If you're running something or an enterprise, and if you're the leader of a country, the whole country will get confused. And imagine if you're a world leader, the whole generation is gone. so, so let me tell you,
Yeah.
if you are trained in thinking and if you're not trained in thinking, see the difference. Okay. So we always say, if you're healthy or not healthy. If you're not healthy, you know what the problems are. But what are the advantages of being healthy? Okay. So let me tell you, if you're trained in thinking, there are many advantages to it. Number one, whenever a problem comes, and a problem will come in life is meant about how to tackle problems. But it's like you're trained in fighting the enemy before the enemy arrives. So there is a saying that if you sweat more during peace times, the less you bleed during war times. So what is important that you train children continuously in the right method of thinking, to such an extent it becomes a part of you. So if I were to ask you, what is 5 into 5? 25, right? It just comes out
25.
so naturally. You don't have to put so much energy, but initially you have to put so much energy, multiplication tables and this and that. So it is a training given to you for thinking about situations before the situation actually arrives. Okay, so it's the very interesting training, and how it helps is that you don't get surprised. Okay, you're not taken. So, for example, the coronavirus was hit, right? So today people are uncertain, they don't know what to do. But if you're trained in Anvikshiki, you say, okay, maybe the form of the problem is different, but the problem will come. In fact, you'd be surprised. I've been doing almost 3 webinars every day for the last 1 month during lockout. I've reached to almost 5,000 people. And I say, my dear friends, suppose, okay, coronavirus was not there. Do you think you were problem free? You will be worried about the March year ending, you'll be worried about the increments, you'll be worried about their own other problems. So it's not that you would be problem free if the corona problem was not there. So you said, okay, I never thought about it. So what Anvikshiki does is that it makes you stable in any situation, good or bad. In fact, it says in the whole chapter itself, Pradeepaha sarva vidyanam upayaha sarva karmanam shashwat Anvikshiki mata. What does it mean? I'll explain what I just said in Sanskrit. Pradeepaha. Pradeep means it's like a lamp. Okay. Sarva Vidyanam. If you know any knowledge, that's fine. But the knowledge, the ultimate knowledge is how to think correctly. A lot of people are educated, but they can't think properly. And there are a lot of people who may not be that educated, but they know strategic thinking. So, Pradeep, it is the ultimate knowledge is how to think, because we human beings have been gifted with intelligence, but we don't know how to use it. So, that's where thinking as a practice comes in. Pradeepa sarva, upaya sarva karmana. So, for any action that you do, first think about the consequences, the objectives, the results. We keep doing, but without wondering. So, even when you do a scientific experiment in schools, we have the journals, say aim, it starts with aim. And then finally, you go to the process, observation, and conclusion, right? So Anvikshiki is that clarity that comes to you before you get into any particular situation. Pradeepa Sarvada Shashwata Sarvat Anvikshiki Mata. So what is my opinion? Chanakya says my opinion about Anvikshiki is that learn Anvikshiki first, learn thinking first. Then you will be stable everywhere. Be it profit or loss, be it a good or bad situation. You said, okay, I am stable minded. And I'll just use one more word. In any situation, you will never lose your balance. That's why in Mahabharata, we have an interesting name called Yudhishthira. जो युद्ध में स्थिर रहता है. Okay, he's Yudhishthira. So any challenge of life, it doesn't matter whether it's a death of a person, it's a loss of a person. Think about it. That man or that woman will be so stable that nothing can touch him, because he's mentally strong, number one, but he's also clear about the consequences, what to do, what not to do, what is right, what is wrong. Everything is about training of the mind and the intellect. And that's Anvikshiki. Think about this. That's our wisdom that Chanakya passed on to us.
So, is there anything that you'd like to share with our listeners on how they can go about the process of thinking? Is there any insights that you'd like to share on, hey, how do I go about thinking then? If
I'll tell you the 3-step process of using Anvikshiki. Okay, so very simple to practice. I don't want to make it complicated. Of course, you want to know more in detail, you should read my book, Inside Chanakya's Mind, Anvikshiki and the Art of Thinking. So there are so many steps. But for our listeners, don't complicate it so much. Just follow the 3 steps. Think about any problem that comes to you. Okay. First of all, you think alone, look at with a cool mind. So if there is any particular problem, first of all, don't jump into conclusions. Gather more information, that is very important. So never be impulsive, the first step. So whenever a problem comes, relax. Your state of mind is very important when you're tackling the problem. So number one is relax, think through all the consequences alone. Second step is actually discuss it with friends. Very, very important. When I say friends, somebody is around you. Because till now, you're only using your single brain. But when you talk to 3 people, they'll give you 3 different dimensions. So when you speak to your family members or friends or anybody outside, for you, it's a problem. For me, I tackled that problem previously. So it's not a problem at all for me. So, I always say this, when you are becoming a mother for the first time, especially for girls, for you, it may be a lot of anxiety. You don't know, you're not sure about it, but talk to your mother. Okay. So the mother is already experiencing, okay, I have given birth to 3 people like you, so this is normal for you. So when you're tackling a problem alone, which you should do because you have to use your intelligence, but one intelligence is not enough. Use multiple intelligences of other people. So why use one brain where there are so many brains available? Step number one, think alone. Step number two, think along with others. And here comes the third and the most important step, think along with the advice of experts. Okay, so somebody who's already done it. So, for example, you're doing this show. I'm sure there may be some people in the world level who may be better than you. Probably they are your benchmark. So
Absolutely.
you study their life, look at their YouTube videos, try to gather more information. So this is where the king also has to consult the kingmaker before he takes a decision. So think about the simple three steps. Let the problem come, relax. As they say, count up till 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax, never get angry or never be impulsive. In fact, the best thing is that it's a major problem. Don't actually decide for 24 hours because the impact can be very big and it's like going on war. So relax. So state of mind is first. Relax, think through all the consequences alone. Second is think along with friends and family. They will give you opinions. Third is think with experts. And imagine after you gathered so many good advisors, so many dimensions, when you take a decision, that will be a mature decision, a long term decision, and of course, the right decision. So, the process of right decision making is three steps. That is Anvikshiki.
Beautifully put. So Chanakya was definitely a prolific thinker,
Yeah.
right? So he would think about a lot of things and strategize and conquering the kingdoms and making the king and all the different things. But another thing that needs to be noted here is that he was also a prolific action taker. He was not just a thinker; he was an action taker, right? So, are there any lessons that we can learn from Chanakya's life about taking action in our lives?
Yeah. Thinking alone doesn't give results. Thinking into action actually gives results because thinking is only 50% of the activity. Action is actually the next 50%, which actually achieves your results. In fact, in the qualities of a king, the first quality is said intelligent and dynamic. So, what does it mean? So, if you're a king or a leader, so please look at all genders. Also, don't look at it as only male. So, queen also include anybody who is a leader has to be a thinker. But after thinking, what you conclude should be actionable. It should be put into action. So it is said that plan out your work and work out your plan. So first is thinking, but only thinking and you
Beautiful.
make a plan. But what do you do with those plans? I'm not here to tell you to give ideas to others. You may be a thinker, but somebody has to implement it. So coming back to actionable, if it is not actionable, it is not worth thinking. And if it is thinking, it is worth actionable. So thinking is actually making the whole plan perfect, but it is still the blueprint. Okay. You have to go and hit the road. As they say, when the rubber hits the road, the realities are different. But since you've done maximum thinking, you've gathered all the information, you've done your research, at least 90% of the problem is sorted. Okay, so you are not at every step wondering what's going to happen. So you've done your plan, but the reality is that there could be unknown problems. So if you're not planned, then every situation you have a problem. Here, at least 90% you're clear. So what do you do with the remaining 10%? Take again the advice of friends and your mentors and your experts. They'll tell you till you perfect it, till you get the results, no thought is worth actually exploring. So that's why, what is the aim of thinking? In fact, I've personally seen this, Vijay, that thinking takes away a lot of energy. Huh? So don't think thinking is just a very casual job. In fact, I always say this, in fact, I practice this myself and advise everybody. Thinking is a very serious activity. It's like, exercising your body, your mind. You do a lot of yoga and gymming, whatever you may say. How much of us actually take time out every day for just thinking, the right thinking, the analyzing the situations, envisaging? It's a big activity, and in fact human beings are blessed to have something called as intelligence. Not every creature has gone. That's why we've been progressing. Okay, so if there is a coronavirus problem, we are thinking what to do. So coming back, thinking is a serious activity, but the serious activity should lead to actions. Okay, thinking activity should lead to actions, and finally action should reach results. If you have not got results, then there is no point in thinking. Analyzing, action should give you the desired results. That is what Chanakya is all about.
Beautiful. So now I would like to move to the next context here.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, I get a lot of messages saying, "Hey, you know what? I really don't have idea about what is my passion and purpose in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
I don't know how do I go and choose the profession that I would like to, pick, or how do I go about making that choice after all, right?"
Yeah.
So is there something that we can learn from Chanakya Neeti about picking the profession or finding the purpose or passion in the life, right? So is there anything that you'd like to share?
Of course, there are many. In fact, this is the first question everybody has to answer. Because if you are clear about your purpose, your life will be inspiring for yourself and others. If you're not clear, you may be successful from the worldly standpoint, from the outside perspective, but internally you'll be very frustrated. Okay, so finding your purpose of life is the only purpose of life. Afterward, life is an enjoyable journey. Others may see a problem, but you're enjoying the process. The earlier you find it, the better it is for you. Imagine you find your passion at the age of 73. It's good to do a lot of self analysis on your deathbed. The earlier the better. You have a choice of what you want to do in life. So don't think that it's about only what you have. You have, but you have to do something about it. Now let me tell you the process. Let's look at a process that anybody and everybody can follow. I would suggest that you should be very sincere about finding your purpose in life. It should not be just another thought. Chalo, football bhi khel liya, cricket bhi khel liya, thoda business bhi kar liya, thoda chala apna life ka purpose kya wo bhi dhoond liya. No, 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 no. If you're having that approach, then it's another casual activity. I think if you're very serious of not wasting your life, and human birth is a very rare thing. Okay, you can create a revolution with human birth. And when I say revolution, not only in your generation, you can leave an impact for generations to come. Look at all the great philosophers, be it Muhammad or Jesus or Krishna or any religion. What an impact those people left for humanity forever. So the way I look at it is saying that if you're very serious about the purpose of your life, then do an activity. Just pray to God, whichever God you believe in, your teachers, and then take a pen and a paper and shut down yourself in a room. Tell the whole world, please don't disturb me for the next 3 hours. Just ask yourself, saying that what is the purpose of my life? And whatever comes inside your mind, it's called self-guidance. Okay, your mind will guide you, your internal soul will guide you. Start writing down. Okay. So it's a very serious exercise. Don't look at your mobile or whatever, no Google searching, nothing. Ask yourself, saying that what do you want to do in life? So the mind will slowly, the little voice in you tells you, I want to be this, this, this. And after maybe writing for half an hour, 45 minutes, you start with, okay, write again, write again, write again. You refine it. And it's like a gold refining process. And then finally, at the end of that 1 or 2 hours, you'll suddenly find, oh, this is the purpose of my life. I want to do. There is another way of looking at it also. Okay. What you do is that you sit down and probably ask yourself what I don't want to do in my life. So one is what I want to do in my life, listen to it. The second, same thing in a different dimension, opposite dimension, is ask yourself, so do you want to become a doctor? No. Do you want to become a sportsman? No. Do you want to become a social worker? Okay, social worker is fine, but I don't think that's my call. Do you want to become a businessman? Oh, okay. I think, okay, I don't want to. Okay, so business, fine. Okay, then ask the deeper question. So what kind of a businessman you don't want to become? So do you want to become a businessman in the field of sports? Nah. Do you want to become a businessman in the field of technology? Oh, you find there's a connect. Okay. So when you keep doing this again and again and again, the result is the same. So either what you want to do, you will achieve, or what you don't want to do, finally you'll come to the same conclusion. You'll find the purpose of your life. Now, there is one more step before you finalize it. So you found saying that this is my inner calling. Now, please verify it with an expert. This is a very important thing because that could be very impulsive. So let's say I've decided that maybe the purpose of my life is to become an artist, like you are doing right now. You're a great podcaster. And I can see the passion in you. You already got so many followers. In my case, I've found my passion in Chanakya. So let's say XYZ person who is listening today on the podcast, he or she start realizing that maybe I'm meant for an artist, and maybe my field of art is probably drawing, just as an example. Now, how do you know whether it is just a very impulsive feeling or it is true? So what you do, go to an expert in the field of drawing and say, sir or madam, who or she is, I have this great feeling within me that I want to be an artist. And because he or she is an expert, they know how to judge you. Then, okay, show me your drawings. And if you want to be a singer, they'll go, "Chara, ga ke sunao na vera." And if the experts gives you a stamp and say that, yes, you are going to be a good potential artist, you have found the purpose of your life. So when it's ask yourself, then verify with an expert, that's the way you'll find your purpose in life. And believe me, afterwards, your life will not be the same. You will be inspired and you'll inspire everybody. What's your purpose in life is going to be different for every single person. Okay. Never compare. Don't try to become somebody else. Be yourself. Find the right guru, expert, and commit your life. And let me tell you, you'll become a legend in your particular field. That's the purpose of your life.
Super. So now I would like to talk about the daily rituals,
Yeah,
right? So now we see a lot of self improvement gurus and self help and inspirational speakers.
yeah,
They talk a lot about the power of the daily
yeah,
rituals and the daily habits,
yes,
right?
yes,
So if for the people or for the listeners who are looking at continuously improving their life,
yeah.
right? So what are some of the daily rituals that we can learn from Chanakya's life or the Chanakya Niti? What does he recommend on the daily rituals for the successful life?
Very nice question. In fact, as you rightly pointed out, it is there in the Chanakya Neeti. I've written a book also on Chanakya Neeti and also written a book called Chanakya in Daily Life. So, okay, so that's something that you can refer to for in details. But let me tell you, see, rituals also become habits. Okay. And, this has been already proved. A lot of people have spoken about that. You take 21 days to make a habit and also take 21 days to break a habit. So it's both ways. Okay. So I think what is very important to understand what is the stage of your life you are in and what is the priorities of your life. Okay, the two important things. So let's say you're a student who is listening to this. So the stage of your life is not about earning. So it's currently, if you're in a school or a college, your priority should be studying. So your daily ritual, your daily habit will be based on that. Suppose you're a married person and your responsibility is to earn money, you're a professional, or if you're retired, okay, now your priorities change, your children are settled, money may not be a priority. So first thing is to be very clear that your daily ritual, there are something which is depending on the stage of your life, and there is something which is very common. So whether you're a child or an elderly person, what are the normal rituals and what are the stage wise daily rituals? I'll explain both of them. So for the first category, I think to get up every day morning, okay, whether you're a child or an elderly person, is to start thanking the Almighty. Whatever religion you follow, whatever philosophy you follow, it starts with the attitude of gratitude. Okay, so when you get up,
Powerful.
please understand this, that you should be thankful because everybody who sleeps may not wake up. So the good news is that you're alive today. You may have a lot of problems in the day, it's okay. So the first thing he says is that start with an attitude of gratitude. Please thank God, saying that I had a wonderful life, I'm alive. Please understand this. The problem is that people start with problems in life. Okay, problems you have to face, that's why you're born. So first start with an attitude of gratitude, so prayerful mode. After that prayers that you do, maybe it's a ritual according to the religion and the custom and the tradition that you're born in, it's okay. Afterwards, please, very important that don't just rush into activity. If possible, of course, you can fresh up, get ready or whatever, but spend at least 15-20 minutes. I spend 1 hour, okay, on thinking. Now, thinking as an activity, the first activity of the day, because mind has got this fantastic ability to look at things positively or negatively. What we do, unfortunately, is that the moment we get up in the morning, instead of thinking, we start worrying. And if I have to use the Hindi words, it's like, chintan karo, chinta mat karo. We are so habituated to worrying about our problems that we don't actually think through the problems to find a solution. So, what is important? The first thing you do is that calm yourself and let your mind settle down, because the mind and the intellect is very powerful. As they say about the law of attraction, if there is a problem, if you think through it, you'll find the solution. But not many people know how to think through it. So, of course, Anvikshiki and everything once you practice. So thinking as a practice. Then, of course, your mind is ready and you start prioritizing what is to be done for the day. And in the case of people like me or you, we are in the creative field, every day is unique. So you can't say, because we have to prioritize. So today I have to do 3 webinars. Tomorrow, maybe I have to write a book. The third day, I have to do a consulting project or go to the university and teach. So I think we have to be very clear what is the priority of the day. So first thing is that get up, get ready, have an attitude of gratitude, then plan your day. Then, of course, you have to do exercise at 3-4 levels. So, what are the exercises? Physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual. So, the physical level, do your exercises. I do yoga every day, or whatever, gymming if you want to do, whatever you choose. Mental, please be emotionally calm. Listen to music. It's very important. Chanakya starts advising the king that wake up with the sound of music. So, many people make it spiritual music also, some shlokas, some hymns, or whatever. The mind is very calm. Don't start with metal rock in the morning, my dear friends, because, the mind is not calm. So, the mental level, the emotional level, you're soothing. So physically fit, mentally alert. Intellectually, I told you, if possible, think about it, read some good things. And finally, spiritual. Thank God, maybe if you've got some rituals about meditation and all those things, do that. Now you're ready for the day. The first half is called what Stephen Covey called private life. Your personal life has to be very fit. Then you have to go and meet the world professionally. If you have to go to college or school. Now, these are the professional requirements. When you come back, okay, now there is a winding up process. Okay, so one is the starting process and winding up process. You actually end the day with the same thing. It's like, it's a cycle. So once you come back, relaxing that, okay, analyze what you achieved and what you did not achieve. So, you have to take what is called it self-reporting every day. So morning you started with 5 priorities. Maybe the day was so bad that you had more priorities coming in. So out of 5, you could only achieve 3. That's okay. Maybe you add 3 more, but you look at, what are the learnings, what are the good part, the bad part of it. Okay, everybody doesn't have necessarily a good day. Sometimes the days are excellent, sometimes they're average, sometimes boring, sometimes, but analyze it. And then finally, again, you end the day with a prayerful mode, with a gratitude. Thank you. Good or bad, this was a great day, I'm still alive. If there is a problem, then say, okay, कल सुबह उठ के देखेंगे अभी तो शांति से सोते हैं. Never go to bed. Okay, never go to bed with a negative thought of mind, because what are you going to do? Your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind will just not allow you to sleep. So again, the attitude of gratitude helps. And God, I did my best during the day. Now I'm going to go ahead. Of course, during the day you have to be healthy, eat the right food, meet the right people, never get over emotional or never overreact. Sometimes it does happen one or day, but you're saying, okay, I did an analysis, I got corrected out of it. So what are the habits on a daily basis? At the 4 levels, plan out your day, work out your plan, allow surprises to come in. That's another good habit to develop. A lot of people become rigid in their planning, saying that, if I made a plan, I will not allow anybody else to come. I meet thousands of people every day on a monthly basis. And okay, you never know. That's why in India we have a culture called Atiti Devo Bhava. Atiti means the one who comes without appointment. So a lot of hidden opportunities come to you in a very surprising form. It could be a phone call. It could be a surprise visitor. Of course, you should analyze whether it's an opportunity or a problem. That's a different question. So coming back of habits, there are so many habits. Habit becomes ritual. Last point which I would like to mention is that there are two type of habits. One is good habits and bad habits. Okay, so good habits are something which are positive we should develop, but there are also bad habits. Be very careful about it, because bad habits are also very difficult to break, and sometimes you get addicted to bad habits. It's very difficult. So be very choosy about the habits, whether you like it or no. Habits will remain, but it's good to have good habits that remain with you lifelong, rather than having bad habits which you never are able to give up throughout your life. Choose your habits carefully, because they will always remain with you positively.
Chanakya had a mentor,
Yeah,
right? And also he was a mentor
yeah,
to the Chandragupta, whom he made the king.
yeah,
So he talks about having a mentor or guru in life. And on the, Arthasasthra, the
yeah,
book he has written about the, wealth, he talks about have a mentor wealth mentor,
yeah,
the mentor who's going to guide you through the, wealth or the richness, right?
yeah,
So can you talk about, the importance of mentor, one, and how do you go about choosing a mentor for yourself?
yeah.
Or and then you can draw an example from your own life of the mentors that you might have, and how do you go about picking one for yourself?
Now, choosing about a mentor, please understand this. You can have multiple mentors. It's like when you're in school, you don't have one teacher, right? So maybe in the initial stages, you have a class teacher, but as you go higher and higher, there are a lot of teachers who come and take you. So each of the teacher has studied the subject and has perfected that particular subject. So somebody could be a history teacher, somebody could be a geography teacher, somebody could be a mathematics teacher. So why have one teacher? In the same way, why have one mentor? Okay, but now it all depends upon what are the qualities of mentors which are common. Okay, so let me tell you, the first thing is that the mentor, he or she should be a subject expert. Okay, and as a student you should know that you should always ask the right question to the right teacher or the right mentor. So I don't ask a history question to a geography teacher, and then he doesn't answer and say, "No, you don't even know what kind of a teacher are you." So I would understand that you always ask an expert the right question. So coming back to your whole question about about the wealth experts. Suppose I want to make money. Okay, so first of all you should know what's your financial level. So I'm just giving an example of the mindset. Let's say you are today, your everything is worth 1 crore rupees. Okay. Now imagine you're talking to somebody who's worth 50 lakh rupees. He can't be a mentor. Actually, you can be a mentor to that guy, because he will learn from you how to make 50 lakhs to 1 crore. Now your mentor, first of all, should be higher than you. He should have at least made 5 crore rupees, right? And he should be able to teach you. A lot of mentors know the secret, but they don't teach you. So number one, this mentor should be better than you. He should have studied the subject. Like for example, I've been a first generation entrepreneur. I've been very fortunate to have great parents who taught me values. But when you look at wealth creation, probably I'm the first kind of a generation who's trying to understand the whole thing. And who are my mentors? They're some of the richest men in India. And being in Bombay, I've been lucky because it's a financial capital. Actually, I made a list of 5 mentors who tell me what to do about wealth creation. But I know of people who have actually given 200 crores to 10 people as donations. That is the kind of people who mentor me. 200 crores is given to at least 10 people. So can you believe how wealthy he can be? Anyway, so this is the kind of a people. So what I learned from this person is not only how to create wealth, but how to give wealth back. Remember the example I give you? So my mentors have been carefully chosen who are wealth creators and giving back to the society. In the same way, I got other mentors, for example, academic mentors. So this person who's teaching me how to create wealth may not be academically qualified. So when I'm doing my PhD, my guide has to be an expert in that field, academic field. So I got a list of maybe 50 or 100 mentors. Probably when I have to learn about podcasting, you're going to be my mentor. So I'll choose you because you are better than me in that particular field. So coming back to the what are the common things, he or she should have more experience than you in that field. He should have studied the field. He should be an expert of that. So these are the common qualities. But let me also tell you, you also have to be a good mentee. You will find a lot of good mentee, but what's your attitude? You cannot be arrogant in front of a wealth creator. You know what? You please teach me how to create wealth. Nobody will teach you because you're arrogant. They'll only teach you when you have that the whole aspect of humility. So good student in Sanskrit is also called as Vinay. Vinay means humility. And Vinayak, whenever we start studying, we actually invoke Ganpati. Ganpati is actually called Vinayak because look at him. He's also called as, the god of knowledge. He wrote the Mahabharata and all those things. So coming back, teach somebody, learn from everybody. Okay, teach somebody and learn from everybody. So it is a Guru Sishya Parampara. So if you got 1 crore rupees for calculation sake, there are people who not even know what 1 crore is. So teach somebody. You can't be selfish. Don't keep it secret, but learn from somebody or rather everybody who is higher than you. So this mentee and mentor relation is always there in each person. Teach somebody, learn from everybody. That's how you become a mentor and find better mentors than you are.
What I picked from what you've just shared, one thing that really fascinates me is we talk a lot about mentors, and I have a lot of discussion with people here and ask them about their mentor. And one of the things that a lot of people always tell is, hey, you know what, you need to have look at this kind of qualities if you are looking for a mentor. Like some of the things that you have said, like, hey, that person should have achieve the results that you want to accomplish, right? Then what's the point by choosing someone who hasn't been there and accomplished those results and having them as a mentor because they don't know the way, right? You want mentor who can shorten that time for
Yes.
you to get that success, because what the mentor does is you want to go from A to B and you want a mentor who's going to shorten that time for you. Like if you were to do it by yourself, then it might take you 5 years, but mentor is going to bring that time down to maybe a year or a year and a half. But what I loved about what you shared is that, are you open to learn? Are you open to be mentored? Are you open to the knowledge and wisdom that so which also bring me to the point of the quality of being able to be surrendered in front of mentor.
Yeah.
Okay, if you now once you have chosen the mentor, then the quality of saying like, okay, now that I have chosen the mentor, I'm going to believe whatever you say because now I totally surrender, so that you are not using your brain when you are being mentored. So do you agree on that, or would you like to add something on that?
Yeah. So you have to use your brain till you choose the mentor. Okay. And afterwards, don't use your brain.
Absolutely.
Pick the brains of the mentor. See, because choosing the right mentor also is a very intellectual process. So don't think you just surrender to the wrong person because he can again make you or break you. We have also found that people who are very sincere students land up with wrong gurus or wrong mentors. And then it's so sad because the student is good, but the teacher may not be. See, please understand this when I give the example of my wealth mentors. See, Bombay being a place where I've been brought up in. So getting rich people is not a problem. People how to teach money and make money is not a problem. See, I keep going to Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. So please understand, I have a quality in my mind, and saying that he should be rich, he should be educated, he should be himself wealthy. But remember the second quality I chose. He also should be a philanthropist because wealth creation can be taught even by criminals. It is not the point that I am very clear what my value systems are. So I have to use my intelligence to reach the right mentor. And then I find, okay, these 5 people, when I talk to them, when I look at the interviews, I come to know that these people actually are contributing much more than what we know. So we only know one aspect of them. Okay, they are very rich. But I look at the other aspect. Are they giving back the richness to others? So that's how I choose. But once I choose, then I go and say, okay, Guruji, abhi mujhe sikha. You have to be open about it. And there are different methods of thinking, teaching. Okay, so you have to be ready for it. Never compare two mentors because their personalities could be different. Somebody will teach you verbally, somebody will teach you through some action, somebody will give you a project. Like I remember one of the people I'm working with, he just, is very quiet. If you ask him 10 times also, he will give the one same answer. But then there's one thing, probably I'm not either asking the right questions or I don't understand the dimension. Then I told him, sir, have you written something? He's not a very outspoken guy, but he writes very well. Then I asked him, sir, can you share some notes of yours? Nobody wants my notes. I said, nobody wants your notes? The secrets of your success, how you become a wealthy man. He doesn't speak much. I said, okay, if you think, you would be surprised, he's written the whole journey from being a person who used to, look at probably stock market as something very small. Today, the stock market icon. So he did not teach me by telling, but I had the attitude of learning from him. Then I started picking his brains and then I have some questions to ask you. What do you do there? So please understand, teacher is going to teach according to his style. And a lot of people get impressed by people who can speak very well. Please understand, you don't get impressed by the external thing. Like, I'm sure many of you must got very impressed by the way Radhakrishnan Pillai speaks, a lot of energy and all that. But please understand, that's only one. But there are people better than me who understand Arthasasthra. Maybe they cannot communicate it verbally, but then the written communication is there. So coming back, what you should do is basically, when I say surrender, surrender is a very interesting quality, okay? Surrender doesn't mean you are, it is not blind faith, okay? Okay, Shraddha, it is logically surrendering. So I'm surrendering to the
True.
best. So that, it's like, I want to learn how to do business. I choose Narayan Murthy, and Narayan Murthy also chooses me. Or I choose JID Tata, and JID Tata chooses me. So it's a two-way thing. After JID Tata has chosen me, do you think I have to do anything more? Yes, after that, to use my brain to imbibe those, because that man is going to be the wisdom of running a multinational Indian company with so much values, respect. It's a 150-year-old company. And do you think my brain will be ready to accept that? But I have to actually spray humble. So, yes, you need to learn from the best, surrender to the best, and also pick up your brain to make sure you gather from the best. That's the quality of a good person who learns from every mentor.
So Chanakya, was this person who would turn anything that he touched into the gold,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
right? So he was the best statesman and he was like a best politician and, he was best at whatever he did, right? He would master whatever he did, right?
Yeah.
So is there any policy or is there any insights, that he talks about or from his life about becoming successful in life that if we can pick 2 3 4 policies that people can learn from his journey or life?
Yeah, sure. So in fact, when I learned the Arthashastra, I was so fascinated, like you are. He was good at everything that he did. Okay. So when he wrote the Arthashastra, imagine the book survived for 2,400 years. The Chanakya Neeti, we're still discussing. If he wanted to create a king, he made the world's best king. If he wanted to create wealth, he created the wealth for the whole country. If he wanted to defeat, he defeated Alexander. So like, then I started saying it is not possible humanly. How can one man be so super successful? I asked this question to my teacher. Remember, so I was not very sure. Is it very fictional or is it like just man-made? My teacher told me something very interesting. Dr. Gangadhar and I, and of course my other teacher, Dr. Shubhada Joshi, my PhD guy. Both of them told that somewhere when we look at such people, we get fascinated and we think it's not real, but actually it is true. Okay. Number one, please understand these people are, they are born for a reason, they are born for a purpose. Remember, we asked this question about finding your purpose, and they were all called as Yuga Purush. They're people who turned around the history. So, like what Mahatma Gandhi did for India, or probably Sardar Patel did. So, they are thought leaders. We can't even imagine. But such people live in every generation. So, don't think it's only during that particular time it happens. Second thing is, how do they become so successful in so many multiple dimensions? I want every listener to actually Google a very interesting word which I came across. It's called polymath. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a very interesting word.
Yeah.
So Chanakya is also considered as a polymath. What is the meaning of a polymath?
Yeah.
That person is supposed to be a universal person. He's got knowledge of the universe. You talk about any subject and he'll be a master in that. So I asked my teacher also, is it possible to master so many subjects in one lifetime? He said, it is possible. And I'll tell you the process. I said, okay. And it is possible for you and me also. Saying that, okay, tell me what is the process. Saying that you don't have to spend your lifetime mastering so many subjects. Okay. You just catch hold of all the people who have mastered every subject. For example, suppose I want to know chemistry. Simple. So even if I spend 30, 35 years of my lifetime, I'll never be able to perfect chemistry. But look at one person who's already mastered chemistry over 30 years. Okay? Ask him questions. He will give you the whole crux of chemistry in that 1 hour meeting. So instead of spending 30 years, spend 30 years in finding 30 experts of each respective field. So what you actually told, the example that you gave, Vijay, is I don't have to prolong the process. The expert actually makes me understand the process in less time. So think about it, what I do, what is the process to become super successful in every field? Catch hold of the living best. Remember the word, a living best. When you go and discuss with him or her, he will or she will give you the whole crux. You know, today I've been very fortunate. I've been part of University of Mumbai. Okay. And University of Mumbai has got 60 departments. Mathematics, you talk about sociology, sort of philosophy. And I got introduced one more subject called leadership. Today we leadership as a separate branch where we actually offer a master's degree, PhDs and things like that. And look at my fortune. Okay. Suppose I want to talk about management. I would just go and call up my friend who will be the head of Jamnalal Bajaj Management Institution. Okay, if I don't know about chemistry or neuro science or psychology, what's the latest research happening? Or nanoscience. For me, it's one phone call away. I don't have to learn nanoscience. I'll just go and say, okay, I want this particular thing. Said, okay, read 2, 3 books, over and out. So, my dear friends, it's possible to learn multiple subjects if you can learn from the best expert of every subject. I'll repeat it. It's possible to become a master of every subject if you learn from the best expert of every subject. This is the Chanakya formula. Even you can apply it.
And I think that's quite a hack there, again, which brings us back to the point about mentor we discussed about, right? So it's again finding, somebody rather than you going and getting your head around it, just go and find somebody who has already done it. And then, that's going to shorten the time for you. And then you will achieve those results. The person might have invested 10, 15, 20, 30 years to master that. But, because now that he has gone through that, now he know where not to burn the finger, where not to fail, where not to make those mistakes, so that you can avoid those pitfalls and you can accomplish those results quite quicker than what the person has done. So now I have one last question for you that I usually ask to my guest, but before that I would like to ask you one more question from the Chanakya Neeti and the principles that Chanakya live his life around. What is the end game, as we call, right? So we have all these principles that Chanakya has laid out about living the life and making wealth, becoming successful. So what did he say about what's the end game? So you earlier mentioned about like what after successful, right? So what's that end game? What brings that ultimate happiness in the life of the people?
Okay. The end game is to understand there is no end. But you have to end your work. See, the show must go on. Please understand this. You have a role to play. Once you have played your role well, you should exit. Nobody is permanent. The moment you understand this, you understand Chanakya. So let me give you a practical example. A lot of people who are very successful or passionate about being successful, they become successful. But you know what happens? They become very attached to that power and position. Suppose you won an Olympic gold medal. You want another Olympic gold. You have to understand you will go away, but the Olympic game will continue. And the game seeks better players every time. Okay. So if Sachin Tendulkar has hit, we consider him as God, and he is. But today, if you look at, I'm sure Virat Kohli will break that record, and he's better than Sachin Tendulkar because Virat Kohli is a successful batsman and also a successful captain. While Sachin Tendulkar was a successful batsman, not necessarily a successful captain. So you have a better version. Cricket demands that. So in every field, the game must go on. There is no ending, but you should end. What's your ending? The ending is like this. In your lifetime, you do better than the best. You leave a legacy for others to follow. You become the benchmark for the remaining to follow. But you should understand this is all God given. And human beings should know that the ultimate purpose of life is to find, as they say in Indian culture, moksha or self realization or self actualization. So when everything is done in the worldly level, withdraw. Okay. Just surrender yourself to God. Because as they say, once you've found your purpose and achieved your purpose, you should know how to withdraw and just surrender back to God. Don't come back again. because there are better players than you. So if you found your moksha, your purpose in life and achieved it, why come back again? This is not interesting to be. So once you've been a chairman of a company, you want to be chairman again and again and again. Exit, my dear friend. So what is important is what Chanakya says. Once you have understood what is being a kingmaker, that means you have done it and are teaching it to others. So endgame is that you have done it, give it to others, and you leave. So the world will be better without you, and the world will learn the best from what you did in your lifetime. You are gone, but the game should continue. The game is always bigger than the player.
I think that's very, very beautifully put. Thank you so much for giving that wisdom and that perspective. Because I've never thought about, and what I particularly like about what you have said is, whenever you are playing the game, play to the best level that no one has ever played, and set that benchmark. And when you know that you have done it, and then now it's your time to pass the baton, or maybe help others achieve that, and then you kind of leave that. So I beautifully put. I absolutely love that. So, before I ask you the last question, if people would like to reach out to you or get in touch with you, I'm sure by this time people are so fascinated by the ideas that you have shared. So, there is this man, Chanakya, who have mastered it all. And then here is the man who has mastered the insights that Chanakya has shared. Right. So, you can say the living person out there who can help you with any problems that you might have in your life. Right. So, how can people reach out to you, or what is the best possible way to get in touch with you?
So I think today the internet world can connect anybody and everybody. So my first point of contact is my Twitter. So you can just go Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. My handle is R Chanakya Pillai. It's quite popular. You can follow me. That's where I put most of my first information, be it training programs that I do or lectures that I give. In fact, this podcast will also be posted over there. But I'm available on all social media platforms, be it LinkedIn, be it YouTube, be it Instagram. So I'm available on all the platforms. So I'm quite available on the internet. All this is fine, but I would suggest, I have a small request that please come and meet me personally whenever the opportunity comes. See, because online is fine, but I think the line that connects us is always face to face. I pray to God that we meet sometimes in some point of life, because I'll tell you, meeting a person's transformation. Till then, it's all good on the social media. That's good for a start, but that is not the final thing. So, what's very important is that please connect to me on the internet platform. Everything is available. So, I will request you to kindly pass it on. But the reality is that whenever we get an opportunity, let's also meet face to face. That's my small request to each one of you.
Super. And I must mention this at this point of time that Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, he is one of the most approachable human being that you will come across. And he already mentioned about, being successful is one thing, and the humbleness is something that he always not only talk about, but you can see that he is a living proof of that. You will come across, I mean, he's one of the most humble human being that you will come across, because he is very, very approachable. And as he mentioned, he has shared all his details on how you can get in touch with him. So with on that note, I'll put all the links on how you can connect with him, and then all the links, his Twitter handle and all the other social media link, I'll put them on the description of this episode. You can just go and click on that and make sure that you follow him, and also let him know that what you like the best from this episode, so that we know that we have been of service to you on this podcast. So here's the last question for you. So imagine that you are standing in a stadium and you do quite a bit of a public speaking. So let us imagine that this is the largest stadium that has ever been built in the history of the world, and there are millions and millions of people on that stadium, eagerly and passionately waiting to listen to you. And you have been given only 1 minute of the time to share the most important lesson that you have learned in your life. What would be your message?
I don't even want 1 minute. I want just 2 seconds. And my message is, do your best and leave the rest. That's how attitude of life should be. So, friends, it's
Do
very
your
simple.
best.
And leave the rest.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just telling you, friends, we have a small lifetime. We may think it's 50, 60, 70, 100 years, but in the human universe, you are just a small dot, but you have a role to play. Okay? A lot of questions will be answered. There will be a lot of questions unanswered. Don't worry about that. Ask yourself, in this small role that I was given by the universe, did I do my best? And if there is something unleft, don't worry about it. It will be carried forward, because you may go, but the world will continue without you. So remember this formula: do your best, and leave the rest. That's what life is all about.
Thank you so much. It has been phenomenal having this conversation with you. Truly appreciate your insights and wisdom. Thanks for sharing it with us today.
You were a fantastic host. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Inspiring Talk podcast. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast from. The Inspiring Talk is currently ranked at number 1 on Spotify under education category, and also at top 5 on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for the love. I hope you learned something or got some inspiration. There are some tweetable on the show notes page of this episode. You can simply tweet those to me at @Vijay Speaks and Dr. Radhakrishnan at @Chanakya Pillai. I'll put that on the description below. You can access the show notes of this episode by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/88. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you in the next. Now, go out there and do something inspiring.